So I'm delighted to be with Ryan Carruthers. Ryan, you came to fame. It sounds like Big Brother almost when you say you came to fame. It's not quite Big Brother. Cyril will probably kill me for saying this, but it's slightly different to Big Brother. It's got a similar reach, maybe, but it's certainly put you in the spotlight, and that's the key thing. You before winning the HMO Deal of the Year to the London market, we'd never heard of you. But as soon as you won the deal, was it in 2016? Have I got that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And when you won that deal, that really put you in the limelight, and everyone wants to always meet the award winners. And I'm delighted that you're coming down to London on the 20th of January. And a huge thanks, I have to say, first of all, for Cyril. Cyril doesn't really get enough thanks for putting a huge amount of time. I wasn't there this year, but I followed it on Facebook. But Cyril puts a huge amount of time organizing an amazing event. I say amazing because for me, it's amazing to discover who, and I've spoken to some of the judges as well. So it's not literally just pick out of a hat or anything like that. It's really, I think they're there for the whole day, looking at, different case studies. So, huge thanks also to those who spend their time looking at who wins Deal of the Year. So, Ryan, just to go through a short timeline from when you won that award, I know you've spoken at a number of different places, your profile's been raised as well. So, what are you currently up to right now in terms of projects?
Okay, so current projects are we have a plot of land purchased, which is to build 10 houses. So we're currently just in for reserved matters to get the design of the houses, the look of the houses approved. It had outline planning permission. So that's in a village just outside of Lincoln called Sturton by Stowe, very nice village. So that's one of the projects we've got going on, which will be, all the work is now done from sort of our point of view, which is one of the things of development. You spend a lot of time initially getting the planning, lining everything up, and then you hand it into the planners, and then you wait, pay your planning, and then you wait until you get the planning, and then you hand it off to your builder and your project manager, and then off it goes. So that one's going to be starting sort of April of next year. That's taken up quite a lot of time over the last few months to get to that stage. And then we have another project which is quite close to my heart. It was an old pub in Lincoln, which my granddad used to perform at. And that's really one of those sort of legacy buildings. It's a building that I can leave behind way after I'm gone. So I'm going to rename it after my granddad, which is a great thing to do. And it's won me a lot of brownie points with my mum. I think I could probably burn the family home down and she'd still love me. And that's in sort of two stages really for us. We did the initial planning development, and that's gone in for planning now. So we'll hear back at the end of February for that one. And that is then a scheme to build 38 flats from the ground up, so a complete new build, quite a big scale project. GDV on that is...
Oh, just run through that again, Ryan. 38 units from the ground up you used. Phraseology.
Yes.
Yep.
38 flats, mixture of 1 and 2 beds in 2 blocks. GDV is over 4 million, which doesn't seem like a lot probably to you Londoners, but realistically, in London terms, you just add another 0, and that's probably where you guys would be at.
So Ryan, I had a conversation with someone, and they sort of like, recognize you because of your cat. Your cat's almost as famous as you. Yeah. But of course, it's in a way, it's a clever. Maybe you never considered it at the time clever branding, but it builds an affinity with an audience as well. Because if it's always about property, if it's always about finding deals or the funding the deals, that there's no more than that really. But by having, I was listening to a podcast the other day which talked about how some people rotate on Instagram and they have it on a scheduled system. So one day it's about family, one day it's about I think they were a photographer, so it was about photography as such. And I can't remember the exact actual schedule, but do you run through a schedule or do you do it freelance? When I say freelance, I mean it's, whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
And
It's
Instagram is, am I right in saying Instagram is one of your key social media tools, or is it wrong just to focus on Instagram?
I don't have. I use everything, and I don't have this professional and personal difference. For me, it is. I don't have an agenda. Everything is out there, and I'm not just a property person. I am into my cats. I'm into Liverpool Football Club. I'm into the NFL. All of these things that make up who I am, and I try to connect with people completely differently. I really like to build a connection with people, and that comes across hopefully. And in my Instagram, my Facebook, I put things that I'm actually interested in, and it's quite funny when I meet people. We talk about loads and loads of other stuff, and most of the time we might have an hour-long meeting and not actually discuss any property-related stuff or any business-related stuff for such a long time, and it's just actually getting to know that person. And I met somebody last night. I was at John Corey's event, who has been following me on Facebook and follows me because of my cats. And we ended up chatting for about 30 minutes about my cats and her cat, and then phones came out, photos about cats. But I really like that because like I say, there's no agenda with me. I actually want to really connect with people on a personable level. And if you're interested in cats, you're going to win with me anyway. And it's like Dick Sesh as well. Me and him get on really well because he's a massive Liverpool fan. So we don't actually talk
Okay.
property, we just talk football. But then I think it creates a really good connection with people on such a different level than what deals can we do? How can we work together? That organically will happen if people are aligned in the same values, the same goals, etc. But yeah, to sort of answer your question, I use all of the social medias. I manage them myself, and I also use my own website, and I try to create engaging stories.
But the key thing is, so you take a slightly different way of doing things, methodology in terms of Instagram. You're not scheduling, thinking that post, that image will be good for Friday or nothing like that whatsoever.
No,
So,
it's just as and when I feel like posting an image, I just put it up. Like this morning, I just put one up because somebody said, I haven't seen your cats in a long time. So I put a post up and tagged them in it. And yeah, it's just one of the tools we use.
yeah, Ryan. So there's going to be people who are listening to this call at some point and thinking, look, that sounds great, but how much business are you actually doing through spending time on Instagram on a daily or weekly or monthly basis? I don't know. Let's say it's an hour each month, or maybe it's an hour each week on Instagram, and that's just one channel. And you might be on Facebook, and are the posts which you put on the different social media channels quite different or fairly similar?
Mm. It's actually it's different. So on Instagram is just my life. So pictures of my cats, pictures of coffee, Instagram stories when I come down to London, see what I'm up to, see who I'm meeting. And then Facebook is more about me sharing links to my podcast, my website, and other things that I'm interested in. So I don't have a sort of set plan or a set amount of time spent per week on social media. It just sort of happens naturally for me. When I see something that's interesting, I will share it. And then the people who are connected with me, if they're interested in that as well, then they will jump on and will comment on that. And people, it is about building those relationships. And it's another touch point for me. And I also use Facebook. I use the Facebook Live feature once a month to do an investor update. So there's quite a lot of people who I know who watch my progress and watch my videos. So every single month I do a Facebook Live, and it's always structured exactly the same way. So it's like an introduction, the key updates that I've been up to that month, the challenges in which I've faced, all these kind of things. It's the same every single month. And I do that to promote what I've been doing, the kind of challenges I've been having, and to build another level of connection. And what then that does is people who want to work with me or who are interested in meeting me for a coffee will get in touch, and then we have a face-to-face meeting.
Ryan, so I know you're coming down on the 20th of January. You're going to go into much more depth about your brand, because maybe in some respects, building a brand when you're outside of London is a little bit more important. I know not everyone's going to agree with me, but maybe building a brand outside of London in some respects is possibly more important than for some people who are based in London, where they can actively network with an audience. Where in some respects, apart from the award, which was a huge boost for you, by being proactive in using social media, you're almost at a head start when you do come down to London. So I know you mentioned about Liverpool Football Club, you mentioned cats, you mentioned coffee. So those are some of the key things. Some people who are listening to this may not use Instagram a huge amount. I have to admit, I don't use it a huge amount. If you're using, let's say, Instagram on a regular basis, is there anything you suggest people do apart from the obvious, which is, use the hashtags, or maybe you won't say it's the obvious, using hashtags, just following people, liking, sharing? Where's your success been? I know you haven't got millions of followers on Instagram or anything like that, but it's interesting when I'm at a meet, someone recognizes you all because of your car.
I know. It's well, everything I try to do across all mediums is, whether it's Facebook, my website, the podcast, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, anything, I just try to create value. So things that I'm interested in the property sphere, and issues that I know other people are having, that is the whole thing for me. It's about creating really good content that actually helps people. So for Instagram, for example, it might be, if I'm viewing a plot of land, I might take a picture of it. Or if somebody was wanting to build their brand, they might want to take a picture of something that they're viewing and just discuss a few details about potentially what they're doing. And then their audience can follow that and see the kind of things that they're looking at. Or they can then comment and build up a relationship with that person. And another thing you could look at doing is, if, influencers are huge. The internet marketing world has been full of the word influencers and micro influencers. So in any niche, you've got influencers and then your macro ones. So in property, a major influencer, especially on Instagram, is Nicole Bremner. So if you want to build your brand and Nicole puts the post up, one of the good things that you can do is actively engage with Nicole and discuss that topic. Nicole's got a huge following, and people are going to be looking at that post and seeing you engage with her on that. So then if they see that you're actually engaging and you're coming up with good points and good questions, then they're more likely to follow you, which is going to build your brand.
Sure. Okay, that's an interesting suggestion. So do look at who the influencers are in your market. We've looked at Nicole. Who else would you look at though as well, Ryan?
I think there's some amazing people in property at the moment who you can look at. I think you've got Brad Lazarus from Goliath Property Sourcing, who's doing some amazing things, not necessarily on Instagram. Carolina Adamczyk is doing very well on Instagram.
What when you say she's doing very well on Instagram, and I have to admit, I see her posts popping up a lot on Instagram now, and I don't know if that's the Instagram's profile, algorithm, who knows I'm connected to Carolina, or it's just because she's spiked up the interest levels by probably using a professional photographer as well, which has raised her brand. So what do you think Carolina's done really to go to that next level?
I think what she's done really, really well is she's picked the right medium for her. So Instagram isn't going to be right for everybody. But because of what she does with the interior design, Instagram is focused around images, photos. So part of her product is that she can create a space and make it look really nice. So Instagram works absolutely perfect for her. So by having very nice, appealing photos, showcasing what she can do, then that's massive for her brand, and it fits with her brand and everything. So I think if you are looking to build your brand and use technology to do so, whether that's Facebook, Instagram, whatever, just pick a medium that you can actually use and is going to be right for your brand. So Carolina, Instagram, lots of images work well. And I think she's also brought her personality into it. You know, she's into sailing, and she did a property regatta where she did a networking event while sailing. So that is, again, an incredible way of building your brand, because it's something that is different and you're interested in that. And then you can bring other people into it, network, and showcase your skills in sailing, and then also build some relationships for property.
Ryan, I promised it would be a 5-minute interview. I think we've gone over 10 minutes, maybe 15. Just one really quick question. So you touched on networking, and many people listening to this are going to be relatively new to networking, or maybe not, but don't actually enjoy it. So, of course, people know about your cats and so forth, but what would your one suggestion be for people going out in the new year, actively networking, whether it's at my meets or whether it's at other meets? For some people it can be daunting, for some people may not be enjoyable. You know, there's some really very classy people in terms of what I've seen, how they are good networkers as well. What would your number one suggestion be?
Question. I think my number one suggestion would probably be to pick somebody who you want to meet. Everybody knows who they want to meet, and you can use Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram to find that person. So if you are daunted about the fact of networking, you don't have to go into a room full of 100 people. You can find through these sources just 1 or 2 people, and then you can connect with those people individually. And then from there, you can look at going to networking meet maybe with them. And I mean, if you, just for example, one of the best networkers out there, Sarah Nasrallah, if you had a coffee one-on-one with Sarah and built up a relationship, and then Sarah says, this is one of the events you need to go to, come with me, that's going to allay some of your fears about networking potentially. But you're also going to have a relationship with Sarah. Sarah might be able to introduce you to somebody else. So my top tip is find one person and go for a coffee with, because it's easier to talk to one person one-to-one than walk into a room full of 100. And then from there, just see where that goes.
Sure. Ryan, just a supplementary question, and this be the final question of 2017, sorry. Me and you. Sarah, what do you think her skill set is? I know it's about networking, but what does she do so effectively?
I think with Sarah, one of her skills is very similar to one of mine. She actually wants to create value and connect with people on a personal level. So she genuinely takes an interest in you, and she is herself. So every time you see her, she is the same person. There's no pretense, there's no agenda. She's just who she is. And I try to do that as well. So it creates that personable relationship, and you are who you are. You're true to yourself. So you attract the people who want to work with you, who are like you. And I think that's what she does really, really well. And she also has a laugh as well, which is a big thing in property.
I was going to say, Ryan, she's at my summit. She's leading the structured networking session.
Yep.
And her name came up this morning for something else though as well. I just want to say huge thanks to you. We talked a lot about Instagram. How can people connect with you on Instagram?
Just if they want to connect me on Instagram, it's Ryan Carruthers 919. You'll see loads of pictures of my cats, and then things that I find in properties, sometimes in some of our HMOs or development. If you want to drop me an email, you can. It's ryan@venturepropertylincoln.co.uk, which is a very long email address. If you're interested in the podcast, you can find it on venturepropertylincoln.co.uk. That's the best way to get hold of me.
Sure. I look forward to seeing you in the new year. I'm sure I'll be speaking to you before that. Huge thanks. And thank you to the listeners as well.